I recently visited the Bulga State Forest, located 80 kilometres to the west of Port Macquarie in New South Wales. The Bulga State Forest is a native forest that is imminently due to be logged. Whilst there with locals, I had the profound pleasure of seeing an endangered greater glider emerge from its den tree just after dusk. In fact, I personally saw a few greater gliders that night in the space of a couple of hours. Seeing these beautiful creatures, our largest glider and definitely the cutest, was a truly special experience. But this magic moment is increasingly rare. Greater glider numbers have declined 80% in the last 20 years. In 2022, they were added to the endangered species list. The reason? Native forest logging is killing off their critical habitat and fiercer bushfires fuelled by climate change. Last week, New South Wales Forestry Corporation, owned by the New South Wales Government, closed Bulga State Forest to the public in preparation for logging of this amazing forest where I saw these endangered species. There are likely to be fierce protests from the local community when the heavy machinery arrives and begins its destruction. Forestry Corp New South Wales will tell you that it takes steps to protect the greater gliders of the Bulga forest. It will talk about selective logging. But Forestry Corp New South Wales is not required to undertake systematic surveys of den trees to see where viable populations of greater gliders are hanging on. I'm told they will look for their den trees, but only from the road, and conduct just 2 passes looking for the gliders. And until recently, Forestry Corp New South Wales was undertaking surveys for nocturnal species, for nocturnal animals during the daytime. Funnily enough, they didn't see any. This is a travesty, and I can't understand why it is happening. Our Federal Environment Minister has claimed that protections for greater gliders have increased because their status was upgraded from vulnerable to endangered in 2022. But this is not helping protect greater gliders on the ground in real life. New South Wales Forestry Corps operations take place under a regional forestry agreement. These regional forestry agreements are exempt from assessment under our national environment laws. To be clear, the Federal Environment Minister does not have a role to play in assessing whether logging by a state-owned forestry company is taking place in a way that is harming endangered animals. But this is because the federal government to date has refused to remove the exemption of regional forestry agreements from scrutiny under our national environment laws, from under the Environment Protection Biodiversity Conservation Act. Instead, it has left it to state agencies to police this rogue corporation, Forestry Corp New South Wales, and I use that term advisedly. In the last 5 years, New South Wales Forestry Corp has been charged with over a dozen unlawful actions, including 7 criminal actions, criminal convictions. Last month, in the New South Wales Land and Environment Court, it was fined $360,000 for removing 53 trees in a forest near Eden. These were refuges for native species after the 2020 bushfires. Justice Rachel Pepper accepted that Forestry Corp has, and I quote, a pattern of environmental offending, has not provided any compelling evidence of measures to prevent its reoffending, and does not accept the true extent of harm that it has caused by its offending. Do not believe the spin from Forestry Corp. Look at its record. The Federal Environment Minister should do the same. If we don't want more extinctions, we need to end native forest logging now and end the regional forestry agreement exemptions. It is inconceivable to me that the Bulga State Forest is about to be logged where there are obviously greater gliders living throughout it, an endangered species. We are destroying native forests and habitat for critically endangered species for what? For wood chips and tomato steaks. Yes, our Aussie bush is being shipped overseas or sold at Bunnings, often for really low-value products. And worse still, we are subsidising this destruction. native forestry operations run at a loss and rely on top-ups from state budgets.
Time has expired.